So here we are, 2 days away from the peace plan that Donald Trump is going to sign with Israel, with the United Arab Emirates, and apparently with Bahrain at the White House, September the 15th. And I am assuming that it will be tomorrow when this video will be uploaded on YouTube and BitChute. So while we are in this theme of peace plan, anti-Messiah or Antichrist, what I wanted to do is dispel a few more, or maybe one or two more false narratives or false interpretations is probably better, by looking through the scripture again and looking through history a little bit. And I'm going to get started with a video just to prove a point about what Christians believe. Even the most ardent supporters of Israel among the Christians cannot get past the great lie. So I am 2 minutes and 4 seconds into this video by, I don't know who this woman is, but let me show you something real quick here. This was posted yesterday. She has 10,791 views, right? Now if I go to mine, you will see that there will be, what, 60 some views on my last video. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to backtrack just a little bit. We go into, I don't know, maybe 1 minute and 45 seconds or so. All right, and we're going to get into her video. Let me move this over and center it up correctly.
To continue to push, when I say he, I'm going to show you a video, of him and what's going on. I'm going to update you on what they're doing, what they're trying to do. The first video I'm going to show you is when he went on the Temple Mount with a cell phone to try.
Who is she talking about? She is talking about Yehuda Glick. All right? And what he was trying to do is he was trying to see if he can get away with blowing the shofar at the Temple Mount. As I pointed out yesterday in that video, this peace plan that is coming up is all about making sure the Arabs around the world can worship as they please at the Al-Aqsa Mosque, as they call it, but it's actually the Temple Mount, but that the Jews cannot. That's what it's all about. You see? And so, while all this is going on, Yehuda Glick is hoping that somehow he can make fulfillment of prophecy happen by being able to blow the shofar at the Temple Mount on the Feast of Trumpets. Now listen to what this ardent supporter of Israel says.
Try to play the shofar as like a tester on the Temple Mount. He was allowed to use his cell phone to have the sound of the shofar come on the Temple Mount. They are trying to bring in their Messiah, the Messiah that they are looking for.
Okay, so what she says is, she says that the Israelis, they believe that if they can blow the shofar at the Temple Mount on the Feast of Trumpets, that would bring in Israel's Messiah. Let me pull it back. We'll play it again. And then we're going to play the rest of what she just said.
Temple Mount. They are trying to bring in their Messiah, the Messiah that they are looking for, not Jesus.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? The Messiah that they are looking for, not Jesus. Because the Messiah they are looking for, they don't realize it yet, his name is Yehoshua. And when they see him, they're going to call his name Yehoshua. They will, you see. And when they do, even the most ardent supporters among the Christians are going to say, well, then that's not Jesus. No, it's not. This is the point that I have been trying to make for years on my YouTube channel. Let's listen to it one more time. I'll go back a little bit further so I can get her to say Yehuda Glick.
18th to the 20th, and they're trying to blow it on through. But Netanyahu, I believe, said no. But they are continuing to petition. They're not giving up. Feast of Trumpets, if you don't know, Rosh Hashanah is on September 18th to the 20th, and they're trying to blow it on the Sabbath, which is the Saturday, the 19th, because no other trumpet sound can be blown at that time in all of Israel because it's a Sabbath. So it would only be heard the shofar on the Temple Mount. So like I said, Netanyahu, I believe, said no to the petition, but they are continuing on. I believe this is Rabbi Yehuda Glick. And he is trying to continue to push, when I say he, I'm going to show you a video, of him and what's going on. I'm going to update you on what they're doing, what they're trying to do. The first video I'm going to show you is when he went on the Temple Mount with a cell phone to try to play the shofar as like a tester on the Temple Mount. He was allowed to use his cell phone to have the sound of the shofar come on the Temple Mount. They are trying to bring in their Messiah, the Messiah that they are looking for, not Jesus, with this sound, but it's really hugely significant to our departure in the tribulation. So I don't.
All right, I don't need this anymore. Very few people listen to my videos and they don't agree with them. Most of those who do listen to them don't agree. Now, so what I want to go to is there was something that I saw yesterday after the video that I'm going to see if I can find today. Now, when you read the Gospels, you need to read at least a couple of them together, especially when it comes to the abomination of desolation, because you see, when you look at Luke 21 and the abomination of desolation, well, it doesn't mention the abomination of desolation. What it mentions is the destruction of Jerusalem. But Matthew 24 mentions the abomination of desolation. Right? So these two record of events are slightly different. Now, when Matthew starts off, he says, when you shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, stand. To stand. Let's make sure we get this right. To make, to stand, to set up, to appoint, I place. To set in balance. So what do you mean to set? I set in balance. It's even more than just stand. It is something that stands up, shoots up out of the ground, and is in balance. All right, so another one would be standing upright. So clearly this is an idol. All right. Sorry, I keep saying all right all the time. It's a bad habit of mine, so please bear with me. I'll try to change that if I can. Standing upright in the holy place. Now it says, read and understand. Read and understand. Then let them which are in Judea flee into the mountains. Now, what I'm going to do is go to this particular event. Vespasian, son of Titus, was appointed as second in command, given 4 legions, and assisted by forces of King Agrippa II. Vespasian invaded Galilee in 67. Do you know where Judea was back in those days? Let me show you something. I think. Right here. All right. So this is the Galilee area. So when Titus came, they came down from the north and invaded Galilee first. Now Jerusalem is right here on the northern tip of Judea. So here's the question. Are the people in Judea going to flee to the north? No, that wouldn't be possible. The lands up north have already been laid waste, and the Roman legions were coming down from the north. Which way are they going to go? Flee to the mountains. They would have to travel south, cut down through here, and try to escape through here and go down into the Sinai Peninsula. Let me show you something. The high mountain region of Sinai. You see this here? Discover Sinai. The high mountain region, home to the Jabalia Bedouin, is around the town of St. Catherine. The town itself lies around 1,600 meters above sea level, and many of the surrounding mountains are above 2,000 meters. With Mount Catherine as the tallest at 2,642 meters, the high ranges continue on towards the coast of the west and the south with some of the most impressive mountains. So when he said mountains, he meant mountains. Just as Jebel Shalmar and Jebel Serbal offering magnificent views on the big sandy floor plain at the El Tur city and the Gulf of Suez. The area is little known for most Westerners, as it was back in those days. That's why they were told to flee to the mountains. But there's more. There's more. It is a unique trekker's paradise. The view of Jebel Rumhan and distant ranges on the way to Jebel Shumar. Because of its elevation, the area receives more precipitation than the rest of the Sinai Peninsula and is relatively wet, and it is a desert ecosystem, but there are hundreds of Bedouin orchards and several natural water pools. The area is mostly granite with characteristics of smooth red domes and hidden basins, although about 20% is newer volcanic rock, black colored and covered with broken loose gravel. With half a mountain belonging to one and the other to the other rock type. The whole region stands above the rest of the peninsula, and its perimeter you can see down to the smaller ranges, plains, and points to the sea. The climate is cooler than the rest of Egypt's, making possible a unique flora and a wide variety of domesticated fruit species, folks. This is why you see the escapees. Many of them traveled through Egypt to get to North Africa, to get to Tarshish or Spain and Portugal. All right. I just learned that one today, by the way. Now, keep this up here just in case I need it, but I don't think that. No, I don't really need this either. So we're going back to Vespasian's son Titus was appointed as second in command, given 4 legions, assisted by forces of King Agrippa II. Vespasian invaded Galilee in 67, the north. They couldn't escape to the north country. They had to go south during the invasion. But now, see here. We're going back to the abomination of desolation. Now it says, when you shall see the abomination spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place. Whoso reads, let him understand. Now there is some controversy. There are claims being made that Caligula did not set up the graven image. Well, he had him set up in all the other synagogues. So let's look at this particular article. Now, the reason why I'm reading this is because I'm warning Christians to beware of splitting hairs. See, here's the problem. If you're going to depend upon historians' accuracy of events and not the Bible and not the Scripture, you may end up in a place where you do not want to be. Because there are some historians that say he did, in fact, set it up in the temple. Others say that he didn't. This one right here says that he didn't. Now, it is written here, was the abomination of desolation Caligula's proposed statue in the temple? In Mark 13:14, and similarly, in Matthew 24, verse 15, Yehoshua, not Jesus, is reported as saying, when you see the abomination that causes desolation stand where it does not belong, let the reader understand, then let those that are in Judea flee into the mountains. A leading theory is that this refers to the Roman standard being placed in the ruins of the temple after Titus destroys Jerusalem in 70 CE. But my take on that is the folks that in Judea would not be standing there waiting for the temple to be destroyed before they flee. They would have to run for their lives beforehand, because the Roman troops were not just in Jerusalem. But there is evidence that Caligula wanted to place a statue of himself in the temple 30 years earlier. He sent Petronius to Syria. I talked about this yesterday. To lead an army into Judea to force the Jews to accept the statue. The Jews were getting ready to resist this imposition. This is the Great Revolt. In 2 Thessalonians 2. It says right here, luckily, Caligula died in 41 AD before this order was carried out. What do you mean, luckily? What do you mean by that? Are you saying the destruction of Jerusalem didn't matter? Or luckily that our false narrative prevails? How twisted and perverted is that kind of thinking? Perhaps this is evidence that the Gospel of Mark and Matthew were written at some time during the period between Caligula's edict in 39 and his death in 41. By contrast, Luke's description of these events in Luke 21, verse 20 to 24, which probably composed using Mark's Gospel, seems clearly to indicate that Jerusalem's fall indicates Jerusalem's fall. So that puts the composition of Luke's Acts later than 70. Really? Based upon what? A lot of assumptions being made here. Now, so my point that I made earlier about are you going to depend on historians to give you an accurate account, to tell you that Caligula did not put his statue in the temple. Are you going to bet your life on it? Are you going to bet your salvation on it? I wouldn't, because what is written here proves that you should not. You see, they can't even get the years right. The web page, http whatever virtualreligion.net, gives the following three passages, but seems to use 43 CE instead of the standard 41. For the date of Caligula's death, they don't even know when Caligula died. So how are they going to know whether Caligula successfully placed the abomination of desolation, which was his idol, in the temple or not? There are some people who say that he did. There are some people who said, no, actually, the temple was right outside the temple, ready to be brought in, but it didn't happen. There are others who say that he did. Who are you going to believe? What narrative are you going to believe? They can't even get the year of Caligula's death right. How do you know that Caligula didn't put that abomination in the temple? He put it in every other synagogue. So logic should tell you that he put it in the temple in Jerusalem as well. Now, Gaius Caligula bore a grudge for being ignored only by the Jews in this respect. They wouldn't honor him as a deity, you see. So he sent his legate, Petronius, to Syria to take rule over from Vitellius and ordered him to lead a large force into Judea. If they received him willingly, he was to place the statue of Caligula in the temple of Jehovah. But if they treated him with arrogance, he still was to do this after mastering them in battle. This is according to Josephus. But here's the question. Are you going to lay your salvation in the hands of Josephus? Jews prepared to fight Caligula. That is the great revolt. All right, let's stop right here. So let's go to the words of Paul. Let's see what he says. 2 Thessalonians 2. This is who Paul was talking about. Now we beseech you, brethren, by the coming of our Master, not Lord, Yehoshua, not Jesus, Moshiach, and by our gathering together unto him, that you do not quickly be shaken in mind or be troubled, neither by spirit nor by a word or by a letter from any of us. Don't think that the day of Messiah is at hand, because it's not. According to Paul. Why would Paul say this? Because it's written right here. Right here in verse 23 of Matthew 24. And if any man shall tell you, lo, here is Messiah, believe it not. Right? And I'm going to get to this beautiful, wonderful discovery that I just came across yesterday. Let no man deceive you by that means. Because that day, they added, that day shall not come except. But it's the same thing. But except, with the exception is there will come a Revolt, 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 revolt. That was the great revolt. And that man of sin revealed. So the revolt reveals the man of sin. Revealed Caligula. You see? The son of destruction. He was the one who ordered. He was the one who ordered that graven image of himself as Zeus Jupiter into the temple. So you can't get around it. What I'm saying is, you can sit here and say, oh, he wasn't the one because he didn't put it in there because Josephus says he didn't quite get there. Well, Paul is saying this man is going to cause the great revolt, and that the great revolt is going to expose that man of sin, the son of destruction. And then he goes on to describe Gaius Caligula, who is an opposition. Opposition to who? The Jews. He exalts himself above all that is called a god. He calls himself Jupiter, greater than all the gods, or that is worshipped, so that he, as Jupiter, sits in the temple of a god or of Jehovah, showing himself that he is Zeus or Jupiter. What I'm saying is this: you cannot use any historian's account to say it didn't happen, because Paul adds a caveat here. He is the one who called the great revolt of the Jews. It was Caligula. Checkmate. So all the historians who say, oh, no, 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 it didn't happen, checkmate. Paul provides all the details right here that shows it was Caligula. It was him. It was him that did it. You can't get around it now. Which makes, let's see, I don't need this anymore. Which now makes this completely moot. So even these people here admit that in 2 Thessalonians 2, Paul seems to imply. Paul did not imply at all, no. He said outright. Don't sit here and say that he seemed to imply. No. There was no implication. It was fact that after a rebellion, the man of lawlessness will have himself worshipped as a god in the temple. That's not how it was. His order to make himself worshipped as a god in the temple is what caused the rebellion. Come on, people, read your history and read what Paul said here. Just because he says, after the falling away, a man of sin is to be revealed, the falling away reveals the fact that Gaius Caligula was the man of sin. Come on, people, quit being stupid. Unbelievable. And so they go and say, Paul goes on to mention that somebody is holding this event back. Yeah, because it wasn't happening right at that very second that Paul was speaking to the Thessalonians. Unbelievable how people can try to figure out a way to get around the truth. Now I'm going to go back to Matthew 24. So At this time when the Jews were supposed to flee, and some did, the ones in Judea, hopefully they did, and fled to the mountains of Sinai. All right, it says, but pray that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. You Christians don't care about the Sabbath day. So this was talking to the Jews back then, talking about the Jews back then. For there shall be great tribulation. Now, I'm warning you Christians. You better get off of your narrative, because I'm going to blow it apart here in just a minute or two. There shall be great tribulation, such as not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. And as I pointed out yesterday in that video, that means the tribulation upon the Jews in Jerusalem. Now, when we go to Luke 21, we have added effect. When you see Jerusalem compassed with armies, know that desolation is nigh. Then let them which are in Judea flee into the mountains, unless that are in the middle of it depart, and let them that are in the countryside not enter into Jerusalem. For these be the days of vengeance. Hold on. That all things which are written may be fulfilled. All things? All things that are written concerning the Jews in Jerusalem. But it says, woe unto them that are with child, and them that get sucked in those days, for there shall be great distress in the land, and wrath upon this people, the Jews. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and led away in captives into all the Goy, and Jerusalem will be trodden down by the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So, according to Matthew 24, it says, and this will never, ever happen again. And you say, it has yet to happen. You completely deny the fact that in spite of all the evidence that I have shown you, that Titus the Roman general destroyed Jerusalem. At the behest, he is that prince that is written about in Daniel. Daniel 9. And the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary, and the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of war desolations are determined. And he shall confirm a covenant with his legions, not to destroy Jerusalem, but to besiege it. But what happened? He lost control of his men, if you bother to read history. This was to take place for 7 years, the siege. But the Jews fought against that siege so hard that Titus lost control of his soldiers, and they destroyed Jerusalem exactly as Daniel the prophet said he would. Exactly as Yehoshua the Messiah said they would. And the extremity, abomination of desolation. So not only did Gaius Caligula place the abomination of desolation into the temple, but Titus, the prince of the Romans, did the same thing, except on the outward wing of the temple. So the point is, folks, you cannot escape the fact. It is impossible to escape the fact that this happened already. And is never to happen again. Let's see. Hold on. Titus places abomination at let's see if I can pull this up. All right. I don't like these websites because let's see if I can do Wikipedia, and I don't know if it'll have it on Wikipedia. Folk tales? Are you serious? Is this wow, this is unbelievable. I can't believe what I just read. Now, abomination is a phrase from the book of Daniel described the pagan sacrifices by which the 2nd century BCE Greek king Antiochus IV replaced the twice daily offering in the Jewish temple. And that is absolutely true. And that's exactly what he did. Or alternatively, the altar in which the offerings were made. In the 1st century of CE, it was taken up by the authors of the Gospels in the context of the Roman destruction of Jerusalem and the temple of the year 70. Well, even Wikipedia can figure this out. Now they say, after saying all this, in all three, it is likely that the authors had in mind a future No. No, 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 no. It says right here in Matthew 24, such as not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. It shall never happen again. Ever. But you Christians, you are insisting that it's going to happen again. Your necks are stiff, you are willfully blind, and you will not accept Israel's Messiah, Yehoshua, as the Savior. You won't do it. So we're going to go back right here, and I will show you what else that I saw. Of course, it says right here in verse 22, except those days be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake. And as I pointed out yesterday, in Isaiah 45 and verse 4, I believe it is, Jacob, what is it? Jacob, something about Jacob and Israel, my elect. Romans 11 verse 28 says that Israel might be the Romans' enemies for the Romans' sakes, but Israel, they are the elect for the patriarch's sake. That's what it says. It says, for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened. And if any man shall say unto you, lo, here is Messiah, or there, believe it not. Why? Because he is not coming in the days of this time. That is one more proof. That's right. He is not coming in the days of Israel's great tribulation. He is not coming. That's not when he's coming. So if you say that Israel's tribulation is ahead in the future, you're saying the Messiah is not coming. That's what you're saying. For there shall arise, so right after this incident, and it's already occurred, the beast and the false prophet. It doesn't say false Christs here. It is not plural, it's singular. It's written right here. But remember, what language was Yehoshua speaking? Was he speaking Aramaic or was he speaking in Hebrew? Or was he speaking in Greek? He was speaking in Aramaic, which is the oldest form of Hebrew there is. And singular, false prophet. Now let's go to John, not Revelation. False, let's see. Beast and false prophet. See all this where it says, and the beast and the false prophet, the beast and the false prophet, the beast and the false. That is what Matthew 24 is referring to. The beast and the false prophet. And he will show, that they will show great signs and wonders. All right, let's go to Revelation 13 and let's look at that. I think it's Revelation 13. It might be 12. It's 13. And I saw that which stood upon the sand of the sea, a beast, a wild beast, rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, rising up out of the Mediterranean Sea. Ready for this, folks? Oh, not Roma. Images. Rome. And I saw a beast rise up out of the Mediterranean Sea. There you have it, folks. Undeniable. Right there. Having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And I've gone over a long time ago who the 7 heads were and who the 10 horns were. You can find out who the 10 horns very easily on Google. A little bit more difficult for the 7 heads. And the beast said, which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him power, and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads that were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. Now, folks, did you know that the man at the Vatican was uprooted, or I should say, he received a deadly wound at the time of Napoleon? Napoleon removed that fellow. And Adolf Hitler put the man at the Vatican back in power. Did you know this? Well, you know it now. And all the world wondered after the beast. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. Dragon of the Vatican. Watch this here. See if I can find it. Oh. All right, let's see. There it is right there. Now, this is amazingdiscoveries.org. This is the dragon on the papal crest. Folks, are you idiots? Do you not see what's in front of you? They worshiped the dragon, which gave power to the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast, and who is able to make war with him? Now, but this started before the destruction of Jerusalem. And it was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue. Not to stop after 42 months, but to continue. Why is this 42 months important? Because during that time, they were raping, pillaging, and murdering the Jews. And for every day that they were doing this, Revelation 11 points out 1,200 and however many days it is that 3.5 years is, just like 42 months. For every day that this was done to Jerusalem, and it continued after that, what I mean is the destruction of Jerusalem was complete, but the act was 42 months. There's going to be 42 months of the same retribution wreaked upon Rome and the people who follow Rome. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against Jehovah, to blaspheme his name, to blaspheme his temple, the temple in Jerusalem that was already that was still standing, and all those that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the Kodesh, the Jews. And he overcame them, and power was given over to all, to kindreds and tongues and nations. It was Rome. And all that dwell upon the earth shall do reverence to him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. You Christians, you did it. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He's pointing out in verse 10 that this is going to be led into captivity. He that leads into captivity shall go into captivity. Him that kills with a sword, that's the beast. Those who went and invaded Jerusalem and destroyed it must be killed with a sword. And that event is going to take place for 3.5 years. Here is the patience and the faith of the Kodesh. Not the Hagios, not the saints, the Kodesh, that's the holy people. Israel. Now, I beheld another beast coming up out of the Eretz, the land. And he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spoke as a dragon. In other words, man came up in Jerusalem. You could say the Byzantines. That would be fairly accurate. But among them was Cyril of Jerusalem. And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth which dwelt therein to worship the first beast. Whose deadly wound was healed. So, and he does great wonders, so that he makes fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men. Those are lying wonders, because it deceives them that dwell upon the Eretz in Jerusalem by means of those signs which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast. What image? Now, before I go to the image of the beast, fire coming down from heaven. There it is right there. The holy fire is described by Orthodox Christians as a miracle that occurs every year at the church at the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem on the great Saturday, the Holy Saturday, the day preceding Orthodox Easter. I thought it was Christmas, but anyway, you'll see it. However, many dispute the alleged miraculous descent of the fire because it's fake. And they make the... And so this is talking about the Orthodox Christians here. So this second beast is talking about the Orthodox Christians. Now, it says, and he had power to give life into the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many would not worship the image to be killed. Now, he also causes both small and great, rich and poor, and free and bond to receive a mark in their right hand, or to give a mark. I offer a mark. The minute was to make a mark with their right hand. All right? Or in their foreheads, like this, Ash Wednesday. That mark, right there, this mark. But I don't want to go too far into this. I'm making my point here. Now, not every single event that is mentioned in Revelation has occurred yet, but the vast majority of them have. But right after the destruction of Jerusalem arises the beast and the false prophet showing great signs and wonders. It doesn't say in so much that if it were possible they shall deceive the rest. Not what it says. It says, so then therefore, so strong, mighty, and powerful, they will deceive or cause to wander the very elect. Israel. This is what the so-called popes did. This is what the Byzantines did. They forced the Jews to convert to Christianity, and many of them have lost their way. That's the reason why it says cause to wander. To cause to, planeo is cause to wander. But Israel, wandering Israel is going to be gathered back at the sound of the trumpet. Now, remember what I said yesterday. When they shall say unto you, that's in these days right here, he's in the desert, don't go there. Because he won't be there. He won't be here on earth. That's the Messiah. Behold, is he in the secret chambers, believe it not. Because when he does come, it will be like lightning that comes out of the east and shines even into the west. In other words, you ain't going to miss it. But you Christians, you believe he's the Antichrist. This is your narrative. As I just pointed out in the video this morning, you Christians, you all follow the man at the Vatican, you follow the beast. Many of you, you say you don't, but you do, because you still have his mark, the name and the number of the name of the false Messiah. It says right here, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Because where the dead bodies are, that's where the vultures are going to be gathered. Oh, wait a minute. It says, it doesn't say lightning is going to shine out of the east and shine to the west, and that's when it's going to happen. That's not what it says. He provides a sign. He says, where the dead bodies are, that's where the vultures are going to be gathered together. That's going to be as the lightning that shines out of the east, or comes out of the east and shines from the west. What dead bodies? Let's go to Ezekiel 37. I'm sorry, Ezekiel 39. This is exactly what Yehoshua was referring to. The Gog-Magog war. Now remember, Paul said, when they shall say peace and safety. Let me ask you a question. What is the Gog and Magog alliance doing today? They're denouncing this peace plan of the century. They're denouncing peace between Israel and the Arabs. If you haven't bothered to read the news, maybe you should. Because it's going to absolutely destroy all their plans of domination. Iran has plans of domination. Turkey has plans of domination. And Russia has plans of domination. Separately. Now, as you can see, this is the Gog-Magog war. Right here it says, remember what Yehoshua said, where the dead bodies are, that's where the buzzards are going to be gathered. I'm not going to start right here. Well, I'll start right here in just verse 7, but I'm going to go straight down below. So I will make my name holy, or I will make my holy name known in the midst of my people Israel. Why? Because they don't know his name. They say it's Hashem. It's Jehovah. But he's going to make his name known in the midst of my people Israel, and I will not let them pollute my holy name anymore. That includes the ones who, of the descent of Israel, who have been caused to wander. They shall know that I am Jehovah. That's not what it says. Sorry. And they shall know that I am the Lord. That's not what it says. It says, and they shall know that I am Jehovah, the Holy One, the Kodesh of Israel. That means the saint of Israel. Behold, it is come and it is done. It shall come to pass, saith Jehovah. This is the day whereof I have spoken. What day? The day of Jehovah's wrath. Now, you might go to my videos and say, wait a minute, Henry, you said Zechariah 14 that it was Jordan that was going to start it. It appears that they're going to work together. Jordan and the Gog-Magog alliance. This is the day of Jehovah, right here. So that if this is the day of Jehovah's wrath, then it is also the day of Moshiach's coming. And he backs it up when this is said. Verse 17, and you, son of man, thus saith Jehovah, or Adonai Jehovah, speak to every feathered fowl, and to every beast of the field, assemble yourselves and come and gather on every side to my sacrifice, that I do sacrifice to you, even a great sacrifice upon the mountains of Israel, that you may eat flesh and drink blood. So what fowls eat flesh? Eagles, buzzards, crows, the gamut. Runs the gamut, right? Right. And you shall eat the flesh of the mighty and drink the blood of the princes of the earth. We'll go back to Matthew 24. Let's see. For wherever the carcass is, that is where the eagles, let's look at the word, bird of prey, on the account of its wing-like flight. It is better, since eagles are said seldom or never go out in quest of carrion, to understand by many terms, the vulture, which resembles an eagle. Back in those days, they were essentially the same. All right? Vultures! Now, for wherever the dead bodies are, right here, the fall of the corpses, the carcasses, dead bodies. Dead bodies. That is where this event is going to happen. It says right here. This is the day I have spoken of. This is the day of Jehovah's wrath, when it begins. What happens then? You can't get around it, folks. Verse 21. And I will set my glory. What is that word? Eyes of glory, honor and dignity of position, reputation, honor of character. And they the honor due to me. I will set the honor due to me among the heathen, among the Goy. And all the heathen, the Goy, shall see my judgment. Shall see my claim, my charge, my court, the crimes that they had committed. That I have executed, and the hand that I have laid upon them. Why? So that the house of Israel shall know Jehovah Elohim from that day and forward. You say, you Christians, you say that that Israel must believe in Jesus before the day of wrath comes. Wrong. You got it wrong. That Israel is going to believe Jehovah Elohim after the day of wrath begins. It says so in Joel 2. But you won't listen to the prophets. Even though Yahushua quoted the prophets numerous times. And the Gentiles shall know that the house of Israel went into captivity for their iniquity, because they were trespassed against me. Therefore I hid my face from them and gave them into the hand of their enemies. So fell they all by the sword, exactly as written in Deuteronomy 28, 29, 31, 30, 31, and now here comes 32. According to their uncleanness and according to their transgressions have I done unto them, and I have hid my face from them. Therefore, thus saith Adonai Jehovah, now I will bring again the captivity of Israel and have mercy upon the whole house of Israel. But you don't want that. You, Christians, you say that the man who's going to lead this mercy upon the whole house of Israel is your Antichrist, and you must fight against him. You're saying it's a false peace. And I will be jealous for my holy name, after they bore their shame and all their trespasses which by they trespass against me when they dwelt safely in their land, and none made them afraid. He's going to cause them to return from the Gentiles and gather them out of their enemies' lands. To my older brother, I hope you're listening, because the vast majority of them are still in the United States in their enemies' lands, and am sanctified in them in the sight of abundance of goey. Then they will know Jehovah, their Elohim, which caused them to be led into captivity among the Gentiles, and caused them and gathered them together in their own land. So he will gather the elect. Right here, hold on. It might be in Luke. So it says right here, they're even going to cause the elect to wander. But that's going to be overruled. Verse 31, and he shall send the angels with a great sound of a trumpet. Maybe on the day of trumpets we shall see. Maybe on Rosh Hashanah. And they shall gather together his elect. Isaiah 45 and verse 4, that is Jacob and Israel. Romans 11 verse 28, that would be Israel. They are the elect for the patriarch's sake, from the four winds, from one end of the sky to the other. Why? Well, in Ezekiel 39 it says, for his holy name's sake. Verse 7 says, and I will make my holy name known in the midst of my people Israel, not let them pollute my holy name anymore. It's for his holy name's sake. It's not whether or not Israel refuses to repent in this particular life. No, it's about his holy name. He's going to pour out his Holy Spirit upon all Israel, and they're all going to believe after he slaughters Israel's enemies. Then they're going to believe. So when the Gog and Magog war happens and Gog and Magog is destroyed, are you going to go and point your finger and say, that's the Antichrist? We got to go and fight against him? Are you going to join the mobs to fight against the Moshiach of Israel? You better not. In those days, you better call upon not the name of the Lord, but the name of Jehovah. Because it is written, in the last part of Joel 2, that all who proclaim the name of Jehovah shall be saved. Let's go to, I don't need to use this anymore, Joel 2. It shall come to pass that whosoever shall proclaim the name of not the Lord but Jehovah. Notice it doesn't say Jesus. It says Jehovah shall be delivered, shall slip away to heaven. That's not what it says. It doesn't say they're going to be raptured to heaven. It says they're going to be delivered to the mountain of Zion in Jerusalem. Shall be deliverance, as Jehovah has said, and in the survivors whom Jehovah shall call. Says right here in was it Revelation 22, I believe it is. Was it 19? All right, hold on. Bride. Come on now. We'll go to Strong's Concordance again. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were now come to an end, rendered void. All right? Or was passed by. That means the old way and the old world. And there was no more Yam. That would be the Mediterranean Sea no longer existed. It's not talking about the oceans. Why would the Mediterranean Sea no longer exist? Well, for one, the Mediterranean Sea was how the beast was able to make a living. You know, Rome and all the European nations and the North African nations. That's how they all made their living, with Mediterranean Sea, travel through the Mediterranean Sea. Well, it was no longer existed. And I, Yohanan, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Jehovah out of the sky. That's right. Coming to the people who escaped to Jerusalem. And prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of the sky saying, Behold, the tabernacle of Jehovah is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people. And Jehovah himself shall be with them, and shall be their Elohim, and he shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. That's written in the prophets about Israel. There shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying. There shall be no more pain, because the former things are passed away. What former things? The tribulation upon Israel is forever gone. Shall never happen again. It begins with Gog and Magog. War. And that war is coming up very soon. I urge everyone to take this seriously and stop listening to the false narratives, because that false narrative is going to get you eternal damnation.